Hi, folks, and welcome back to Monday, May 3rd edition of Money and Politics. And I hope you had a good weekend. I am in a weird mood this afternoon as I come to you. I have been fighting an issue. I won't go into it, but it's an online thing, and I've been sitting here beating my head against the wall the better part of the day and making no progress. So, on one hand, I'm very frustrated, trying not to show it. Um, you can imagine you want to scream sometimes. So that said, I hope you've had a better day and maybe a bit more productive. I feel that I've wasted my whole day, and I guess we all have that now and then. By the way, if you want to email me again, there's the email address, moneyandpoliticsnow@gmail.com. And if you want to follow me and you haven't already on Twitter, there it is. Go to Twitter, and hopefully we'll do that. I'm going to talk to you about, not so much about Humble today. Humble, I think the big story on Humble right now is primarily on Friday. We'll see what happens during the course of this week. As I already said the other day, I'm very encouraged by the people they hired. I think it looked like a very good team. And if I didn't say it then, I think I did. I don't think these very talented people that were just hired by Humble would be coming to Humble if those people with such great resumes thought Humble was a place to go and have their career die. These are talented people who could get work, I'm sure, in a number of places. So I think more than anything I could say to kind of put Humble in some context right now is the fact that they were able to hire such good people. So I think that speaks for itself. We were down a little today. I suspect you all know that. And that's about all I'm going to say. I'm going to talk a little bit about something I've been wanting to talk about anyway, but not only am I in a funky mood, but today is also the anniversary of my parents getting married, 1947. So there's that. And then this afternoon, just before I'm coming to you, there's a news flash that Bill and Melinda Gates are getting a divorce. And I'm sad for them. I mean, I'm never happy that anyone is getting a divorce. That's tough for anyone. The larger point I would make is something I was going to talk about, and then these kind of things just all came together. Folks, one thing I want you to think about, and maybe you haven't thought about, is that each of you has, as I do, an emotional relationship with money. Now, that probably sounds funny to a lot of you. A lot of people have never thought about that. You have an unconscious emotional relationship with money. And for a number of you, you have an abusive relationship. You go around feeling that financially you're not worthy, that it's think of an abusive relationship where one spouse maybe pulls down another, right? And makes you feel inferior. And a lot of people, a lot of people have an inferior relationship with money. They don't see themselves as being able to develop wealth. It seems very foreign to them. Their relationship with money is that you can barely squeak by every month, and you have to, scrimp and save, and that's how their parents were, and that's how their grandparents were, and that almost as if it would be a repudiation of their family's history if they were to get ahead, all of a sudden they're one of the rich people, or they make 200,000 or 500,000. For a lot of people, it's kind of like the person, well, I'm the first member of my family to go to college story, right? I'm not the first member of my family to go to college, but the point is, if people break ice and they're different from their family. And so what I would say is, think about somebody who came from a very impoverished family and their relationship with money compared to someone who grew up in a wealthy family. Think of, for example, let's say the Kennedys or the Rockefellers. And one of the children in those families, think how their relationship with money is different than someone who grew up really poor. The reason I bring this up is, as I said, so much of what we decide when we are investing is emotional. The decisions are emotional. And you have to recognize that. And sometimes you have to go, oh, yeah, I kind of see that I'm in a bubble. And I've said everybody walks around 24 hours a day in their own emotional bubble. And sometimes you need to stop and kind of reflect on yourself and say, what's my emotional bubble? And I know this sounds like hocus pocus. I hope it isn't turning you off, but it's what I'm saying is actually very important. One of the great gifts I had, and I was given it for Christmas around 1987 or so, as I recall, was a book, one of my favorite books, The Instant Millionaire, and it deals with this very topic, by Mark Fisher, A Tale of Wisdom and Wealth. And it's about a young man who, his father has a friend who's a millionaire, and the young man wants to be introduced to the millionaire. And it's about going through the conversation that the young man has with the millionaire, and what the millionaire really gets the young man to see, that he has to overcome. The young man has to overcome his own emotional barriers of how he sees himself, his level of commitment. And so I would highly recommend you getting this. In fact, I still have that. I've held on to that book all these years. And about every once a year or 18 months or so, I'll reread it, because it's kind of like just doing mental exercises again. It's good to kind of reinforce different ideas in your mind. So you can get this. If it's a small book, it's probably in the neighborhood of 100 pages. I read it when I got it on Christmas back in '87. I read it that by the time the night was over. And so that's one thing. As I say, so much of emotional or investing is emotional, and I wanted to bring this up as we are so recently experiencing the emotions of humble, and the thrill that we had back in February, and the angst that we felt first of all in March, and then where it's over the last 3 weeks or so, how it kind of fell out of bed and was cut in half from where we were at about $3.50, now down to about $1.40 or so. So when you're dealing with this reality, as I say, you have to kind of recognize, because the emotions, because some of you are going to go, oh, the hell with that, I'm going to throw in the towel. Let me bring back up a couple of things that I've touched on before, and here's some new ones. But that volatility is scary, but it can work to your advantage. And who would have thought that we could have had Humble go back down to some of the low prices that we have had of late? And so that's number one. Number two, control your emotions. And if the company is solid, if the story is solid, then keep the long view and don't worry about the short-term price, okay? Is Humble solid? I think so. I think that's, as I started off saying, that's why they were able to attract this good group of people they just hired. And if anything, one of the things I would say that was kind of maybe a negative I would have brought up about the company is that maybe they were trying to do too much too fast, and that they were overwhelming their staff and their ability to do all the tasks that they were trying to do in such a short amount of time. It might be that they were just trying to be a little too aggressive. And so in that sense, the fact that they are bringing on these new people is answering, I think, what was probably an internal problem where they were just working so hard, 7 days a week, probably 10 and 12 hours a day, and burning themselves out. And that, you know, they were, the staff was now going to get some help. Let's put it that way. So that's a great thing. In addition to the quality of the people, they're going to have more capacity. So control your emotions if the company is solid. Number 3, trim your profits. And I talked about this from time to time, the importance of taking some money off the table. You want to be able to see that you're growing wealthier over time. So trim profits from rising positions now and then. That does not mean, it does not mean that you sell out entirely of a position, but that here and there you can sell a little bit of shares, because you're going to get some, going back to what we said, number 1, volatility. You're going to get some volatility. Even if you take a little bit of money out of XYZ, let's say you took a little money out of Facebook because it's now gone up over $300, and you take some money off the table, Facebook might continue to grow. Let's say it does. But if you take some money out of there, and Facebook went down, well, then you could either buy those shares back at a lower price, or you take 1 or 2 shares of Facebook and you sell them at $320, let's say. Those 2 shares are now $640, and that's where then you can obviously redeploy that money, maybe in a far more efficient way in another position. I mean, if you think now, look how many shares you could buy of Humble at a low price, or some of the other stocks that are out there that, are below $10. So for 1 share of Facebook, $320-something, you could go out and buy a lot more shares of some other stock that's compelling. So don't forget to take some money off the table here and there. That's number 3. Number 4, live below your means. This is one of the 10 commandments of wealth, folks. You want to be able to see that you're growing richer every month, at least on a regular basis, if not every single month. Here and there, you're going to have some expenses. But try to always live below your means and put some money aside and save monthly. You'll feel better, and you're going to be emotionally stronger if you feel like every month you're getting ahead as compared to going down below. And then I kind of snuck that one in, but what had been number 4 got pushed down, should have been number 5. Keep some cash in reserve. And on that one, I'm talking about on your stock brokerage account, you want to keep some cash in reserve. So you want to have some cash built up for your family life, your home. And then if you get more than enough you need, you can put it into your investment account or whatever. But in your stock brokerage account, you also want to keep some money in reserve, okay? So that said, let me bring up something I think is kind of interesting. Here is over the last 3 months. The blue line is the S&P 500, and I often refer to that as the benchmark of performance. So when we're down on Humble, the green line here is Apple Computer. So here we are belly aching and questioning whether Humble is a good investment. I don't know. Would you look at the green line here of Apple Computer over the last 3 months and be questioning whether Apple is a solid company, whether Apple is a good investment? Because, folks, we're looking at this and we're down just as we are on Humble. And then let me bring in, which go up and bring back in Humble for a moment. And let's see how Humble compares to those stocks we have. And boom, Humble is still outshine them. If we go back over a year to date, look how much Humble has gone up, so much more than Apple and the S&P, that you can't even see what they've done. that here since the beginning of the year, Humble is up 145%, even with this downturn where we are, you know, far below where we were. The angst comes in. The angst on Humble is in the last month. And you can kind of see, obviously, here that over the last month, Humble has really gone down, and in part because of the question about the preferred shares. But this is, I want to just remind you when I'm talking today about emotions, how short-lived the emotions, the worry is for those of you who are all worried and feeling down about Humble, how short-lived that emotion is. You got 1 month. 1 month. And here at 3 months, it was still higher for the better part of that until when? Until the beginning of April or so before it really fell out. Here we are 1 month ago. I mean, Humble was at $3.12. We weren't really happy about that. Now it's about half that. So it's that last month that has been really kind of a kick in the gut. And now and then you're going to get it. I told you before that you have to develop your emotional calluses. And this is the thing. You have to be able to weather these emotional storms as an investor, because you're going to have the market go down, the stock, your favorite stock go down. You're going to have times where every single thing in your portfolio is down, which is why, and I'm repeating myself here, you want to have cash saved up, because at least you can either A, take advantage of down prices, or B, let that cash help cushion your emotional depression of being down. Because the worst thing you can do is to panic and sell, or just say to hell with it and quit investing. And on the other hand, too, you want to make sure that you're investing wisely, and you don't want to be going out and chasing every little dumb, cheap stock out there, because you can make a lot of money in penny stocks, but you can also lose a lot of money in penny stocks. And so I think a lot of you, based upon what you're asking me to look at, are still trying to be making 1,000% in a month, and that's a bad habit. I would encourage you to stick with good companies, and that's pretty much that. All right. So again, if you want, you can follow me on Twitter. And the other thing I would say is go out if you would. This is a good book to read. It's a good book to give to your kids as an investment. I mean, when I say kids, I mean maybe you're a teenager, maybe you're 20-something. The Instant Millionaire by Mark Fisher. I'm going to talk about some other books now and then. But this is one of the good ones. And it's not telling you how to invest or how much money. This is exactly what I'm talking to you about today. The theme that I'm talking to you about today is emotions. How important are emotions? I mean, how important are emotions in a marriage? Right? Well, my wife, she's all right, I mean, no, emotions are everything. And emotions, when you come to investing, are often not discussed. We talk about, the earnings, the revenues, the prospects, the hires, what the multiple is. And too many times we never talk about the emotions. So I wanted to do that today. So that's it, folks. I hope you appreciate today. I know it's a little bit different, but I think it's an important lesson. I'm going to let you go. I've already, as always, gone longer than I always think I'm going to go about 5 minutes. I end up talking 20. But I hope you had a great weekend, and we'll see you tomorrow night. And hopefully we're going to have some more news and some more interesting stocks to talk about. But until then, we'll let you go.